Hello, my name is Ron Kaufman, and it is my honor and a privilege today to tell you about the life of an extraordinary human being, Ray Jefferson. Ray Jefferson was born as the son of two civil servants and grandson of house servants. He went on in his own life to absolutely carry the spirit of service to others, but also with an unrelenting, persistent passion to perform at the very best of his potential in whatever situation or circumstance he was in. Ray graduated from West Point and then went on to join a Rangers battalion and a Special Forces group. And then in 1999, during a training exercise, a faulty grenade went off during the training. Ray was holding the grenade and he heard it go and knew that this was about to blow. He had a choice. He could take that grenade and hurl it as far away from him as he possibly could, but at the same time potentially putting his colleagues at risk. Or he could do what he did, which is he trapped it next to his leg on the opposite side of where his colleagues were, and it blew. And in the process, it blew off all 5 fingers on his left hand. Now, for most people, that would just knock you out of the game, and it did knock Ray out of Special Forces, but it didn't knock him out of his passion or his desire to continue to serve. Ray went on and became a White House Fellow, and then a Fulbright Scholar studying leadership in an Asian context based in Singapore. From there, he went to the Harvard Public School of Administration and the Kennedy School and got a master's degree. Oh, and then he stayed and also got an MBA from Harvard. Ray then worked for McKinsey, the consulting firm. And it was during that time that I met Ray at a conference for the National Speakers Association. We were in the elevator together. He had an attractive lady on his arm, and I'm a friendly guy, so I was chatting them both up. And as we got out of the elevator, he apparently took my chatting up wrongly and thought I was trying to, make moves. And so he steered this woman completely away and around the bank of elevators. Well, I realized some misinterpretation had occurred because this guy was special and I wanted to get to know him. And I went around the other side and we met. And I said, I'm not sure what you think just happened there, but I want to be clear with you. I get that you're a special guy and I'd like to become your friend. And in that one moment, he did a complete pivot and said, okay, then let's do that. And it began a friendship that lasted more than a decade. Now, at some point after that, during the President Obama administration, Ray was appointed as the Assistant Secretary for Veterans Employment and Training Services, helping other people who were completing their military careers to get back out into the world and be successfully employed and develop themselves professionally. Well, his service to people who were in service matched up with my passion for service and the uplifting service programs that we provide. And so my wife, Jen, and I worked with Ray and his leadership team in Washington, D.C., and in San Francisco, and in Chicago. And it was an extraordinary time, as you can see from these photographs, whole teams of people getting together and saying, yes, let's step it up. Let's serve even better than we already are. Let's perform at the highest level that we can possibly achieve. Well, that particular period for Ray didn't conclude so well because his speed was only one. He only had full throttle. He only had pedal to the metal. He only had Ranger, absolutely passionately committed to achieve the goal. And yet he was working in a government service environment where some people don't come to work quite that way. And one of them accused him of violating procurement guidelines. And his boss at the time gave him 4 hours to decide whether to resign or be fired. Ray Jefferson was not going to allow being fired to be on his reputation, and so he resigned, knowing that he'd done nothing wrong, absolutely believing he was in the right and that his honor was intact. It took him years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend himself until finally, many years later, the same government agency sent him a letter and said, we find that the allegations against you have been unsubstantiated. That's it. Fortunately, that's not it when it comes to the way this world really works. And the Washington Post published a front page article talking about what Ray had gone through, the effort that he put into not only clearing his name, but continuing to stand for the honor that he stood for all of his life. Now, Ray Jefferson went on to do many other things. He moved back to Singapore and started one of the region's leading consultancy and team building businesses. He was a frequent contributor to YPO and to many other organizations, where he brought his extraordinary intellect, he was a member of Mensa, and his talent, his creativity, his depth of understanding and knowledge, and his passion for people's performance to every single engagement he ever did. In fact, it ended up that Harvard Business School, his alma mater, published a case study on Ray, which you can find online. Now, even though Ray was no longer an active member of the military, that's where he originally did his service, and he wanted to continue. And so it was Ray Jefferson who pioneered the idea of there being a Services Academy Global Summit, where the military academies, not only from West Point, but from all of the other areas of the military, could come together to share as they matured, as their careers developed, keeping them together, keeping them connected in service to other people. Now, one of the things Ray did when he was in Singapore is he met me again and he said, we should have a men's group. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, guys who get together and are authentic in our conversations. And so he invited some of his Harvard Business School alumni, some of his McKinsey alumni, some of his West Point alumni, and fortunately, me. And we began a series of meetings on a regular basis. And I tell you, that man would come to these meetings and bring such a level of intimacy and authenticity and disclosure and candor. And then he would not only be there present himself, but he would do all he could to facilitate, support, and enable all of the other people in the group. Ray Jefferson. And we had just received news that last week, Ray Jefferson, at 58 years old, one of the most physically fit human beings I've ever met, in the gym every day, pushing himself. How hard? Well, now you know how hard. He had a heart attack when he was on vacation and passed away. Just a reflection on how precious it is to be alive for all of us, how fragile our mortality is, and how vital it is to live with every moment at the peak of your potential, your performance, and your contribution in service to the well-being of others. So last night, my wife and I went out to toast to Ray as the sunset happened. And as we sat together and we thought about him and we shed our tears, an amazing thing happened. The sun went down behind the clouds, and not a ray, but rays and rays of colorful, bright light emerged on the horizon like we have never seen there before. And as we sat and we thought about how much Ray had blessed us, and we blessed him, there was Ray blessing us right back. I'm so glad that over the course of his life, he got to live with such vigor and energy and passion and honor and contribution. And every time I think about that man, I stand a bit taller. I hope hearing this short eulogy for Ray Jefferson will help you feel a little taller too, and commit yourself to doing all you can in your life to care for the well-being and serve other people.